Leah. I will be the host for tonight's class. This morning's class. Usually I'm hosting at night. I'll be the host for this morning's class with Guy. And I join you here from Southern Oregon, where we have a classroom of students next door watching the class live. And Guy will be joining us. He'll come on here in a moment from sunny Florida. So we're bi-coastal now. And happy you're here, whichever coast you're on or wherever you are in the world. If you're new to our class, the format is Guy will speak. There he is. Guy will speak for about an hour, and then we take about a 3 to 5 minute break where you can stretch your legs, grab something to drink, and then come on back and we go into the Q&A portion of our class. And we look forward to your engagement on that. So if you have any questions or comments in the meantime, any tech support, you can always go to the chat area on whatever platform you're on and write it in there. Kate's behind the scenes and she'll be monitoring those and able to help you. And I think that gets us started. Guy, are you ready?
I am whenever you are.
Okay, fantastic. I will go ahead and read the title and the key lesson. The title for today's talk: To Hell and Back in the Wink of a Lie. The key lesson, the first key lesson reads, if you find yourself harboring resentment, filled with angry thoughts or painful regrets, having surrendered to the suffering induced by your own negative considerations, be warned. In the darkness of that nature is where affliction hides. It abides there, breeding the conflict it has with the natural tides of life, waiting to consume those who consent to enter the hell wherein it dwells. All right, here we go.
So, hello and good morning, good afternoon, good evening to the people on the West Coast, to the people on the East Coast, and to everyone everywhere, wherever you are joining us for this talk. I want to set the stage in a gentle fashion because I don't intend to particularly push the ideas forward that we're going to look at today, but I do understand that there are going to be parts of you that cannot help but misunderstand or otherwise misinterpret the purpose of the study and the material intended to be studied. Years ago, I told a story about two friends, and his friend wasn't well, and he was going to go see a doctor, and he got this prescription that was supposed to make him well within 2 or 3 weeks, and a month goes by before they see each other again. The one man visits his friend, and his friend doesn't look any good at all. What's going on? I thought you have found a prescription that was going to restore your health. And he said, yeah, I did, but I'm looking for another doctor. Why would you be looking for another doctor? He said, because I want a prescription that tastes good. And when it comes to the truth, there's no prescription that tastes good. There is the goodness that comes with taking the medicine required. And that I can't even tell you. You know, when a person, have you ever been astounded to feel really bad for a while and then your health comes back and you go, God, I remember this. What a wonderful feeling it is to feel healthy and energized. This is fantastic. And you didn't even know it was missing until it came back. It is the exact same thing, only in an unspeakable way when it comes to having a relationship with God, with the divine, with what is immeasurable, which is probably a preferable way of putting it. Because for the medicine that you're willing to take, without knowing it, you are at once not just healing the body and mind that is out of sorts because it has fallen into a bad place, but you're also feeding the soul in a way in which only it can finally rise to realize that it is already part of another order of being and that you are intended to live in that order of being, even if it's just to be transported there momentarily, as often happens for the longest time. So please keep this in mind. The medicine is bitter, but it heals. And the medicine that's bitter isn't just the medicine you don't want to hear. It's you judging yourself for what you hear because you see the truth of it. And you mustn't do that. So, you ready? Yes. I have a long story to tell you. Kind of excited to tell you this story because it's about the apprentice angel and the senior angel and an unbelievable set of discoveries that the appy, as we like to call the apprentice angel, makes on a particular visit down to earth. Now, you may not know this, but angels suffer too. Everything that's apart from God, that isn't aligned 100% with God's will, suffers for the fact of the separation. The difference is that some separation reminds a person that they're separated and allows them to want to be restored in the proper relationship. But most of the separation has suffering in it because in that we believe that we are alone or otherwise isolated and afraid of all the things that come our way because we have no context for them. If I told you that all the conflict in your life exists only as it does because it's always in the wrong context, you would understand there's the possibility of entering into another kind of context with life where your consciousness is aligned with everything that's intended to be revealed as opposed to opposing it as it's revealed. So Appy has a special lesson coming his way. Down they go to a place that we won't name. It's the earth. Which is like the best training ground for angels because angels actually come to earth and ascend again. And when the angels ascend, you know the story of that ladder going up and down. Keep that in mind because we're going to look at a kind of antithesis of that today. That as they do that, they come back with new understanding. And more importantly, they come back with a little less of the ego, a little less of the will that attends most human beings, that's behind most of their pain that they don't know is so. So here's Appy, and he's down with the senior angel, and he's wondering what's the lesson that senior has in mind for him. And sure enough, they're walking along, and here's a young woman, and she's walking along. She's got a couple handbags of, you want them from Nordstrom, that's fine. You want them from TJ Maxx, that's fine. I don't care where they're from. You can be where you want to be from. And as she's walking out the door, mistakenly, a guard accuses her of shoplifting. And in an instant, there's this immense kind of flux. And I'm telling you, it's true. You just don't see it. You'll never see it with your eyes, but there's this flux that occurs around this woman, kind of a shifting where you would see waves. And as that shift takes place, literally right in front, maybe 5 feet to the left of the woman, a newspaper stand appears. Just out of nowhere, the Appy looks like that. What the heck is that? And steps out from the newspaper stand a newspaper boy, looking very innocent. You've seen the picture. They got that little cap like that. And he's going, news flash, news flash. And he's talking to the woman, you're on the front page. You're on the front page. Get your newspaper. Get your newspaper. So, I mean, what is she going to do? What would you do if somebody said you're on the front page?
Yeah,
by the entire run of the press. That's what you would do, and hand them out. So she walks over. Now try to keep this all in mind. It's a long story with a lot of images. As she walks over and she takes one of the newspapers from the newspaper boy, at the same time as she takes the newspaper from the newspaper boy, about 5 feet from the left of her, suddenly appears, would you believe it, an escalator. And this escalator is right there on the surface, and it's not going up, but he can see the movement of the stairs. You've seen that. So the woman takes the newspaper, and she's got her nose planted in it, and walks firmly onto the first step of the escalator that's going down inside the earth. Now, isn't this amazing just to begin with? One day, God willing, you will see this isn't a story. So there she goes, down the escalator, face buried in the paper, and she disappears out of sight. And I might add that no more does that happen than a man who's been cut off coming into the door by somebody else, has another one in the newspaper going, and the people are just kind of lining up, getting their newspapers and heading down this escalator. You have the big picture. Now, it's important to understand that as they're getting on this escalator, each and every one of them has a different kind of mixed expression. Some look excited, some look angry, some look worried and anxious, apprehensive, but everyone, all of them, least, down they go. And Appy is just gobsmacked. He said to the senior angel, "What in the world is this about? What am I seeing? I've never seen anything like this before." The senior angel says, "Just hold your wings," and snaps his fingers like that. And angels, I don't know if I want to get into this. Time and distance doesn't exist for angels the way it does for us. An angel is literally a thought away from the place where that thought awaits the entrance of the angel into it, relative to the place connected to that kind of thinking. And just like that, the apprentice angel and the senior angel are transported. And where are they transported to? Down into some kind of dark area where not only is there this escalator coming down with the people that he saw above coming, but there's just off to the other side, there's an escalator going up. And the Appy's looking, and it's a dark place. You know, this is how I know not to watch a movie, when there's a lot of really horrible sounds there in a place where someone's entering into, groaning and moaning and shrieks in the background and stuff like that. You know what you're in for. Well, the Appy's sitting there, he hears these shouts, turns to the senior angel and says, what is this about? He says, "Oh, just watch." And this is hard to believe, but it's true. The newspapers they were carrying begin to go through a kind of a transformation. And each newspaper that each person has their nose in is literally transformed, some into a suitcase, a duffel bag, a sledgehammer, a gun, a pick, a shovel. Each person holding that newspaper, as they're holding it, transforms, and they've got, as they're stepping off the escalator, some kind of tool, some kind of something in their hand. Unbelievable, isn't it? Now, Appy says, what is that about? I don't understand what's happening. How did the newspaper that they were handed get turned into something else, and something else for everyone? Nobody has quite the same thing as they're stepping off the escalator. He said, "Please give me some information. First, what's the name of that newspaper that can turn into a shovel, a pick, a hammer, a gun, what's it?" And the Appy senior angel says, it's called Yesterday's News. And Appy says, "Yesterday's News? Well, why in the world would anyone want to read about the ashes of a place and time that no longer exists?" Again, senior angel says, "Appy, stop asking so many questions and start seeing what's in front of your eyes." And so Appy looks around, and sure enough, as he's looking, over there is that second escalator. One's coming down. What's the other one doing?
Going up.
Now, on the escalator going up, all of the people there are holding different things. They're not holding the tools they got off with. They're holding different things. Some are smiling, some are pleased, others full of despair. And Appy's trying to figure out, well, what happened to what they got off with, and how did it become something they're going back up with? And so he's standing there and wants to move, and the senior angel takes his head. Do you ever take and holds the Appy's head like this so he can keep seeing? And now he can see both escalators at the same time. And this is an astounding fact, but it's true. No more does somebody who's going up go out of sight, but in the instant they've gone up, they're coming back down. Only now they're empty-handed until that newspaper turns into a tool. And so you get the picture of this round trip that all of these people are making, coming down the escalator and then going up the escalator, coming down with something that the newspaper has been transformed into, and the others something that they've picked up or otherwise acquired as a result of what they came down the escalator with. Are you getting the image here, the picture? Now, Appy's beside himself. He says, what in the heaven is this place? Is it real? The senior angel looks and he says, it's real for many, but for now, let's put it this way. He said, no doubt you've heard of Valhalla. Now, how many of you have heard of Valhalla? Valhalla is a mythical paradise where great warriors go after they've lost their lives in battle. It's kind of the warrior's paradise, Valhalla. Okay? He said, no doubt you've heard about Valhalla, where the brave warriors go, but this place is nothing like that. What is this place called? Senior angel says, it's called To Hell and Back. To hell and back, says the apprentice angel. To hell and back? What kind of name is to hell and back? Senior angel says, well, it happens to perfectly describe where you are, but it's a name that describes a kind of hell that's imagined into existence by humans who, in their ignorance, first create it and then actually consent to return and to dwell in it, ensuring that it continues. Appy's, this could explain so many things, he says. Why people are up there. I mean, so everybody's going to hell and back? Yes, that's exactly what they're doing. They're not just going to hell and back, they're dwelling in hell, looking for what they need to take back with them so that they don't suffer and have to get on the elevator going down again. So everybody is coming down. They think it's real. But he says to the Appy, there's no other hell. There's no other hell except each and all in the shape and size of the unconscious nature and the suffering that creates and sustains it. Your Father did not create hell and back. Human beings have created to hell and back. And they've done so for reasons that they don't understand, which is why I'm educating you now to the fact of this strange relationship where he said, haven't you noticed? Now I step out of my story for a split second. And please don't lie. That's why the medicine's bitter. Do you know that we lie in order that we don't have to taste the medicine that has come to relieve us from the misery that we're in? Do you know that you dwell in hell every day? I'm telling you, every single day, without knowing it, you dwell in hell. Humanity dwells in hell of their own making. What does it mean to dwell in hell? We're going to go through this. I made a complete list, simple list for you to see where it is. But if I'm angry, am I not dwelling in hell? Isn't to dwell in anger to dwell in hell? It is. What if I'm full of self-pity? If I'm full of self-pity, am I not dwelling in hell? What if I'm angry at you? What if I have a case with you? I'm keeping an account. So every time you say or do or act out what you say or do, where do I go? I go to hell and back. Now, what does it mean I go to hell and back? I go to hell. I'm dwelling in hell. I am in the misery of a reaction and the experience of it that is produced by my certainty that this conflict I'm experiencing is because of the kind of human being you are. And if you weren't that way, I wouldn't be in the hell of the moment. But I can't be in hell. The devil took me to hell. You made me go to hell. Because if you weren't this way, I wouldn't be suffering like that. Unconscious suffering is hell. Unconscious suffering is hell. And the way out of unconscious suffering is the way out of hell, because you don't bring an end to the unconscious nature that can't help but get on the escalator. Do you understand what the escalator means now? The newspaper? Somebody sends you an email. Why are they sending me this email? Why am I being bothered by this spam? These evil people are phishing? What's wrong with this evil world? Do you ever have that thought? Where are you when you are thinking about the evil of other people? Are you in heaven? Where are you when you dream up an enemy because they said or did something and you don't even know them that runs counter to what you believe is valuable? Are you in heaven or hell? Can you say? Clearly, because I'm suffering. But I believe my suffering is validated. Don't you? Because it's validated by the fact that I can judge you, this, that, or them. And my judgment proves that I am other than what I am judging. But the one who judges is in the hell of judgment. Because judgment doesn't exist without division, without separation. So Appy's looking at this and he's trying to take the whole thing in. He says, what in the world could entice a human being not just to make one painful trip down, but I saw them making round trips. You ever made a round trip? No, honest to God. You know, I'm sitting in my room, and suddenly, get your paper. A thought comes about 3 weeks from now, about 6 months from now. Thought comes, oh God, oh God, oh no. I got the newspaper. What does it say? Essentially, it's got a big picture of me. There's trouble ahead. Danger, Will Robinson. And I'm going down the elevator, aren't I? And what am I going down to in that elevator? What am I entering into other than some image my mind has fashioned, not about what's real, but what it says reality is, so that I enter into the image made by that mind that is filled with not only what I don't want, but listen, but part of what I don't want includes what I've come down to hell with, which is to go find something to take back up into my life so that I don't have to be in hell again. And everything that I find down in to hell and back is exactly that. It's nothing but an image. And the senior angel says, can't you see it? What are they taking up with them? What do you take out of a moment you don't want when you think through it? Do you ever think through moments you don't want? Can you stop thinking about moments you don't want? So that's to hell and back. That's the grand cycle of conflict. What am I thinking about when I'm worried or nervous or anxious or wanting somebody's approval? What am I thinking about? I'm thinking about what? I'm in hell. Now I've got to get something to get me out of hell. So in order to get out of hell, I got to go to hell. I enter into it, don't I? Fully identified. So I go down into hell. I'm not going anywhere, incidentally. I'm sitting in my chair. I might be at a dinner table with people smiling and laughing, and I'm going, like that. And I'm in hell. I mean, what these idiots. Why would I associate with anybody like that? I can't wait to get away from here. Oh, yeah, I love you, too. To hell and back. Now, what am I getting in hell? Solutions? Mm-hmm. Plans? New ways to deal with whatever it is that I couldn't deal with the first time around? And am I not also picking up a lot of judgment about myself and others that allow me to be in that kind of conflict? Because I wouldn't be like this if you weren't like that, or I'm the worst person on earth. So I'm in hell being the worst person that ever lived. And what am I doing down in hell as the worst person that ever lived? What am I doing down there? I'm looking for a book to tell me how to be a better person. I'm looking for a guru. Someone's going to straighten me out. So that's called to hell and back. Do you understand the name now of where they went to? To hell and back. Because in that fallen state, unaware, and this is what happens. This is the whole idea of the woman and the shopping bags. Something disturbs me. Have you ever noticed that you don't have to go very far to get disturbed? I mean, you can sit and disturb yourself, can't you? No, really, honest to God. You sit in your chair and you start thinking about, you get on the down elevator. Why would I get on the down elevator? Because I've read a story, meaning something in my own mind is projecting or talking to me about some kind of problem or torment that's just likely, it's probably going to happen that way. And I'm going down and going down. I'm looking in the newspaper. Newspaper turns into what? So what is the first paper, the first form of the newspaper? It is a kind of reaction to something that seems to be like other moments that I've been in. Because that's, what am I reading? I'm not reading anything real. I'm reading what my mind is telling me just happened to me. I'm experiencing this newspaper, yesterday's news, that I'm still responding, still reacting, still carrying all the things that I'm carrying, but I don't know I'm carrying it until you do something. I got the newspaper, I step onto the down scope, and I'm reading in my newspaper, which is the source of my suffering, everything that I need to do to stop suffering. And that's why I'm going down there, to find a way to stop suffering when I'm suffering on the way down, because I've stepped onto that escalator to hell and back. So I'm tempted, am I not, by this reaction, because the reaction has what in it? Every negative reaction gives rise to an instantaneous desire. You have never had a negative reaction that doesn't appear with a desire. It's impossible. In fact, every desire by nature every reaction by nature comes with a desire. When the sun reacts with the leaf of a tree, there is a reaction, and that leaf has a desire, as does the sun. Only they're completed and reconciled through the interaction of what is divine in nature. You and I, on the other hand, get struck by somebody's bad mouth or whatever it is, and I have an instantaneous reaction to what it is that I say you have made me feel. And when I've had that instantaneous reaction, am I reacting to what you said? Or has what you said triggered something inside of me that I came into the moment with, and I'm beginning to suffer myself? But I can't afford to see it's myself I'm suffering, because I need to find a solution, and the solution cannot be there's something wrong in my psychology. There's something, I'll use a better word than wrong. There's something incomplete in my understanding. I'm not clear. And rather, by the way, than staying right there to get the clarity which is inherent in the moment and the appropriate action, my mind defaults automatically into the downstairs and the down elevator and the up elevator. So, what is everybody down into hell and back picking up? What are they picking up? Let's take you. Anybody have a pain or a problem in the last, 2 minutes? Honestly. Why? Have you ever looked at somebody and just thought, why are they like that? You don't even know them? Why would anybody dress like that? Why would anybody paint their house that color? Yes or no? And of course, if there's nothing like what you would do, the person's the problem. So I go down and I pick up what? What do I pick up down there when I've gone down? What do I pick up? Plan. Well, certainly a plan, but I might pick up a quick, a critical remark. Right. Something cruel to say. Right. A shield. I'm picking up anything that seems to relate to whatever the relationship I have with that pain is in the moment, because that nature is looking to mitigate the misery that is inherent in what it's creating. It doesn't know it can't do that. That's why it's called to hell and back, because that's just what it does. You could call it reincarnation if you want to, probably the real meaning of it according to Buddha. Psychological reincarnation. Isn't that what's reincarnating? Mm-hmm. But do you think that's what's reincarnating? Would you say to yourself, today I want to make sure that I suffer a little bit more than yesterday? Because that's pretty much what happens. Because at a certain point you start to realize, I've gone to hell and back. When am I going to stop going to hell? And I'm terrified of not going, I'm terrified of going at hell and hell and hell. So I have to come up with more and more reasons why I'm in hell. And the more reasons I'm dwelling in hell, the more I dwell in hell. Please see it with me. You don't know it. You sit there and dwell in a psychological space called hell. So what's the solution to hell and back? Is the solution to hell and back better clothes?
No.
More food?
No.
Drugs to make you forget that you went to hell and back?
Don't step on the escalator.
Good sex? I'm naming everything that people think is the solution to hell and back. A new car? No, what's the solution? Don't get on the stupid elevator. Don't pick up the newspaper. Don't let something that says you're on the front page, meaning, oh my God, what did just happen to me? Where are you looking at? I'm looking at myself. But I don't know I'm looking at myself, which is why I don't know I'm going on the elevator called myself, down to myself, getting something from myself, and returning with something. And here's the next part that Appy figures out. So he says, so when they're going up the escalator, I mean, some of them look really furious, but they've got a gun or a cannon or a sledgehammer. And some look really happy because they're holding jewels or they're holding a new diploma of some kind. They've got something that really, yeah, I get it, why they'd be happy going back up. But why do they have to come back down? Please, if I go and dwell in the hell of an unwanted moment, seemingly to derive down there what I need so I don't have to live that moment again. And I always get what I need, don't you? Do you not?
Yes.
You know, it's not trick questions. Why do I want you involved? Not for my sake. You should have to sit here and look at you. No, when I'm in hell, I figure it out. Yes, you do. I'm going to go eat something. I'm going to figure out how to show that person what it is that they don't see about themselves yet. I'm going to be pretty, you know, they won't see it coming. I'm going to make so much money, I'll be able to isolate myself from everyone and everything forever. No one will bother me again. Yes, Eric. I have an island in mind. Why doesn't anything that I go back up from to hell and back on the return journey to hell and back, why doesn't anything I take back up there with me actually solve the pain I'm in?
Because it's part of that system. It's part of the derivative of that level.
Because it is as imagined as the pain it's going to solve. In fact, it doesn't exist without the pain that it's there to solve. So when you get back to the surface, so to speak, back to your daily life, the things you have to do. When you get back, have you ever noticed that what you brought back with you only works for like 10 minutes? You know, until the waiter says something off color or whatever it is. And in a heartbeat, the guy cuts you off. Everything I brought back up with me, my new image, I'm going to be very patient. I'm going to be kind and loving no matter what. Everything you bring back up, it dissolves. And what happens the moment it dissolves? There's an existential threat to the identity that was derived from it. And the minute there's an existential threat to the identity derived from what you used to save you, what happens? Get your newspaper. Extra, front page story. And you go, you're right. Look, please see this. Look. There's a picture of me. I'm worse than I've ever been. Yes or no? I'm going nowhere. Here's the headline. Guy Finley is going nowhere. He's not going to make it. Doom. Down I go. How many times do I have to go to hell and back? That's the name of the place. I want you to remember that, to hell and back. How many times do I have to go? A lot, she says. I want to make a transition. The pain of the past only exists because each time you revisit some unwanted moment, You not only get to relive the hell of that painful memory, but you also get the same negative reaction that drove you to it in the first time. So when you have this negative reaction, you're going down seemingly to release yourself from the experience of yourself. But what do you find down there other than something that corroborates whatever the conflict is that you're in? And so you have this resistance up here, and what do you find down there? Resistance. More of the same. And here's the main part, because this is very clear. The hell in which we dwell, which is like that, is not your past. It is not your past. How do we know that the hell in which we dwell is not our past? How do we know that? Because it's possible, natural, actually necessary to be able to have and remember people, places, and things. When I think about how to get back home, I don't go to hell and back. I'm going home. Now, if on my way home, my mind says it's not a good home, I don't want this home, then what's a natural, necessary memory, which requires the past? I wouldn't even know how to get home if it weren't for the past. I wouldn't know your name. Please strike it from my past. Seriously, I wouldn't know the name of anything if it weren't for the past, would I? So is the pain inherent in the past? Is it? No, it's not. So it's not the past that's the source of the pain. But there is something about our past that has misery in it. And that's what I want to look at. What and how? How is that possible that the past, remembering where to go to Albi's or Aldi's or whatever that place is that has good discount groceries, whatever, I don't suffer going there unless on the way there I think, I hope they're not out of that wonderful pulled barbecue chicken they've got. Then I'm in hell, aren't I? Do you see how quick that happens? Or I'm on my way to Trader Joe's or TJ Maxx. I'm on my way or someplace, and there's traffic for 400 miles. I was happy on the way there. Now I'm not. Now I'm thinking there should be no other cars on the road. Now the only way there can be no other cars on the road is if I can buy a flying car. So now I have money I need to make. Now I'm down there coming up the escalator with the idea of an ambition that will release me from all the problems connected to ordinary mortals that I shouldn't have to deal with. Just telling you what's going through my head, okay? So here's what's going on. You've heard the expression, nothing is good or bad, save thinking, make it so. We've looked at this in a couple of different ways. So that was Shakespeare. But we've looked at this deeper, and we've said that, well, if we really understand it, nothing is good or bad, save thinking, make it so. That's really saying that nothing is good or bad, save for the thinker, save for the nature that is looking at that moment and deciding that it is good or bad by comparing what is good or bad to its own past experience. So that it is the nature of the thinker that determines whether something's heavenly or hellish. It isn't in the moment itself. Nothing is heavenly or hellish in the moment itself because everything is a revelation and a circulation producing something new. So the only way something can be judged is if it's stopped in time and something made of it of a personal nature. And that's what this nature does, is it makes something personal out of every moment so that it can be the judge of the moment and know whether it's good or bad. And if it's bad, I've got my newspaper in hand, don't I? Because the reason it's bad is something is looking at this and saying, I know this is bad. Look how bad I feel about it. I know this isn't a right moment. How do I know? Because of how wrong I feel. And then I believe that the wrongness or the badness that I feel is because of the condition when I can't see a condition as wrong or bad without a consciousness and a thinker that makes it so. And the minute I identify with the rightness or the wrongness, whether I understand it or not, let's say I identify with the rightness. This is exactly how everything's supposed to go. I'm on the elevator to hell and back. You know why? Because that which I said is right is conditional, and when the conditions change, it's not going to be right, and I'm going to double down on what's wrong. And when I double down on what's wrong, I'm going to double my effort to bring something back up with me to ensure everything remains the way it's supposed to be. Are you all still following me? So that you and I would swear that this pain or this pleasure, and isn't pain and pleasure of every possible shape and size, it could be the smallest thing in the world, couldn't it? Last night I was cleaning up in my kitchen, and I had washed a dish and placed it too close to the edge. And when I put another dish down in the rack, that dish went flying off of the counter and smashed on the ground. Now that wouldn't ordinarily be a problem, but my food was also ready at the exact same moment that the glass went shattering down. Now what happens when you are in the pleasure of anticipating a quiet meal and you shatter a glass so that your meal is not going to be hot at all, and you've gone to immense trouble, proper timing of everything to get it. What happens to your pleasure? To hell and back. Now, did the falling glass create the hell? Did it? What created hell? The comparison. And my mind actually said, just leave it. Have you ever heard that? Just leave it. You just go eat. You clean that thing up later. So that's what I did. I went and No, I stopped and I cleaned it up. But while I was cleaning it up, my mind was in hell. Why was it in hell? Because it was calling it, you knew that was going to happen. Don't you know everything written in the newspaper? You fool, you idiot, you shouldn't have, you could have, why didn't you? And then mostly it was Eric's fault. It's always somebody else's fault. I promised myself I wouldn't raise my voice this morning, because it's enough to say I dwell in hell, to hell and back, to raise my voice. But isn't it always somebody else's fault? Including you. You hate yourself. And when you hate yourself, that's on the way down. And what do you go back up with? The resolution that you won't be that way the next time. And when you head back up with the resolution you won't be that way next time, what happens when you become that way the next time? The escalator goes faster and faster and faster, doesn't it? Let's bring up the second key lesson, please. And it's not on the screen here. We don't have it yet to do that, but it is on the screen, and I will read it out loud to you here in the room. The hell in which we dwell is the conflicted experience of a conditioned mind trapped in a time it can't escape, because it recreates it each time it returns there to resist and relive again a time of its own making. Try to see to hell and back in there. The hell in which we dwell is the conflicted experience of a conditioned mind trapped in a time. When you identify with a reaction, you are trapped in the time of that reaction. That reaction is always new, but the meaning of the reaction comes from where? From. So here's the reaction, but I don't see the reaction as a necessary element of the time. I see it through the eyes of time that tell me what is causing this reaction. And once I know the cause of the reaction, I'm on my way back up the escalator with that which I need to escape myself, as it were. Do you see it? So if there's an exercise, because I have to get to a special writing, what do you think the exercise would be? Where does this all start?
Shopping. Going down.
Catch yourself picking up a copy of yesterday's news. If you actually knew that you were reading yesterday's news when you're thinking about why the day shouldn't be this way, when you're wishing things were other than they are, when you're sitting and worried about what may or may not happen, any time that you are in any form of conflict, you cannot be in conflict with the moment unless you are reading and identifying with yesterday's news. So that's the first stop for us. Can you see that there is something in you that shells out, what is a paper? I don't know. What is it? Do people buy newspapers today? What was it, $50 a copy? Do you know when I was a boy, you could buy a comic book for 8 cents? Do you know how much comic books are now? $8. I don't buy them anymore because they're too, no. But magazines, it's mind-blowing. Who would pay $12 for a magazine? Do you know why people read those things? Mostly? Especially the social garbage? Because when they're looking at it, they can get on the escalator and go down. I don't have that. Why are they doing that? Wow, can you believe people live like that? That's so wrong. Why, you watch the news so you can go to hell and back. Not so you can learn, so that you can confirm whatever is inside of you that's decided it knows what heaven is. How can I go to hell when I know what heaven is? It's impossible. So catch yourself picking up a copy of yesterday's news and do what before you step onto the escalator to hell and back? What do you have to do with yesterday's news? Stop reading it. Because you're not going to, see, listen, it picks up its own imagery, basically. The reaction is almost always an instantaneous identification. One day you won't have identification with reactions. You'll see a reaction come and you'll see it go. And it'll be just like that. But for now, the reaction comes, the identity appears simultaneously. But one day when that identity appears with the reaction, you won't say I to the part of you that is saying I to the expression or the resistance of that experience. So you won't get on the escalator. Now, do you know the big problem that people are going to have with not getting on the escalator? Anybody? Yeah. What am I supposed to do? Where am I going to go from here? What's going to happen to me if I don't go to hell and back? But I don't think to myself I'm going to hell when I'm busy making a plan for a pleasure. I don't think I'm going to hell because the pleasure has removed from me the fact that I wouldn't be trying to figure out how to make a pleasure for myself unless I was unpleased, unless I was unhappy. Why do I make plans for, why do you make plans for excitement and happiness? Please, I'm not trying to take something from you. I'm trying to give you something. Why would my mind sit and come up with a plan of some kind, some promise, some escape? Why would my mind be doing that? And why would I be so identified with it? And by the way, where am I in the scheme of hell and back when my mind is formulating something like that? I'm on my way up, aren't I? Why do I need a way to be happy? Why do I need something to be happy about? This is something that an average human mind would never even couldn't even think to ask it. Do you know why? Because as I am, I'm not enough. I'm not enough. But the me that's not enough is what? Is me having read the paper saying this terrible feeling you have proves that there's something wrong with you and you need to add something to yourself. So I don't know that when I'm trying to add something to myself, it's because something has been stolen from me and I've agreed to the ride down the escalator and now I'm trying to figure out how to step off of an escalator that I am fueling with every last thought and feeling I have about why I need something else to be happy. Can you see that as long as your happiness is conditional, you will always find a way to be unconditionally unhappy? You have to be able to see it for yourself. Because you see what happens is that when you stop dwelling in hell, it's so funny to say this, when you stop dwelling in hell, everything's okay. Which means it was okay before you started dwelling in hell. This nature loves to not want what it has. This nature loves to not want to be what it is. It loves not wanting to be the experience of itself. So it has to invent an experience that will give it meaning. And everything it invents to give it meaning turns out to be what makes this nature mean and cruel to begin with. Because meaning to me is what happens when the meaning of your life matches mine perfectly. Let me finish this talk with what I'm calling 5 examples of yesterday's news and how to agree to relive, and how agreeing to relive any old story is the same as buying a ticket to hell and back. Kate's going to put it up on the board and in the chat box here. It'll also be available as a special download. What's the name of it? 5 examples of yesterday's news and how agreeing to relive any old story is the same as buying a ticket to hell and back. Would you believe that you buy daily a book of e-tickets to hell and back? Would you ever think that to yourself? Honestly. Not me. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where people disappear from this spiritual work. Not me. I'm not like that. Let's see. Number 1 of 5 examples of where yesterday's news is the same as buying a ticket to hell and back. Anytime we get upset due to imagining how some moment yet to come is going to prove itself a problem of the painful kind. That is to go to hell and back. My mind gets upset. Does your mind ever get upset? I've got all this responsibility, and so I start thinking about the implications of a time that doesn't exist yet. Well, where does the time that doesn't exist yet exist? In imagination. And my mind, God bless its little beautiful soul, when it imagines a time yet to come, it doesn't go, Lord, isn't it wonderful? Look, I've got only 10 minutes to figure out what to say. It says, oh my God, I'm not prepared. And the minute that it's not prepared, it's read the headline, you're not ready, this isn't going to work out. And then as I'm going down, I'm coming back up. And what am I taking with me on the escalator back up? Everything I've figured out how to deal with what hasn't happened yet. Is that hell or not? Number 2 of 5 examples of yesterday's news and how agreeing to relive any old story is the same as buying a ticket to hell and back. Do you know what I hope for you, the reason I'm giving this particular talk? So that you can catch yourself dwelling in hell. Originally, before I figured out hell and back, meaning as the way to, I just call it hell dwell. Just hell dwell. It is hell to dwell in the past. It is hell to dwell in the past. Why is it hell to dwell in the past? Because it isn't you dwelling there, and it's not even your past that you're dwelling in. All the time I hear of my wife and my sister, and is Joan my sister-in-law? I don't know. My sister-in-law, my daughter, you hear people talking about their past. And one says, well, that isn't what happened. That's not how I see it at all. Well, how do you see it? Well, I see it this way. No, I'm sorry. That is not how it went down. This is how it went down. I beg to differ with you. Paul, come here, get in this conversation. Did it go down this way or that way? Well, neither way. It was a little bit of both. So what do you have? You have a group of human beings all living from a memory that was fashioned by a mind that didn't want the moment as it was and made it into something meaningful for it. And then when a moment comes that corresponds to anything like that reaction, that mind calls on the content of itself and it is in conflict not just with the event, but with anyone and everything that challenges the way you remember the event. You can't not want the day to be the way it is without you remembering a day that was better than that, and that's what's wrong with today. It's not yesterday. That's hell. That is hell. And I dwell in it. I'm so used to riding up and down. I'm so used to being captured by something, feeling myself collecting myself, letting that newspaper that has my picture in the front page turn into something that's going to save me from this terrible place that I've been delivered to. I didn't step onto this elevator. Something made me do this. No, nothing made you dwell in the past. Something attracted you to go into the past. Tempted you is the actual word. So that derivative identity could be suddenly defined with the clarity is, so that you could be in conflict with the moment and get what you need on the way back up in order to get off the escalator to hell and back. Are we making number 3 of 5 examples of yesterday's news and how agreeing to relive? This is the key. Do you understand? I'm actually agreeing to hell and back. If I'm identified with a negative state, I am agreeing to hell and back. Number 3, any form of anxious hand-wringing over the process of aging, diminishing health, or the realization of one's mortality. How many of you you understand this? If you see somebody get to this point, it's pretty serious. I always thought thumb twiddling was like just, that somebody was making that up. I've seen people twiddle their thumbs. Why would a person twiddle their thumbs? They don't know what to do with the energy born out of heading down the escalator and worrying about what to do or what to do with the solution they've got. So twiddling their thumbs is the way they burn off the energy. Like a squirrel, they call it sparking over. Hand wringing is sparking over. My psychological pain is so great that it has to express itself through my body. And the more my body expresses this, the more it validates the fact that I'm on an escalator to hell and back. And I have to have a solution for this stress that now my body has become habituated to doing, because it's one of the ways in which I think I'm spinning off this excess negative energy, when in fact I'm just generating it through an unconscious identification with body sensation. Can you see this with me? Do you ever wring your hands over you look in the mirror? Oh God, I don't remember looking like that. Then you go, and then if you're lucky, like my wife is always telling me, I'm handsome. But if you don't have somebody telling you you're handsome, what are you listening to? Here's what you're listening to. Maybe a little. Little bow tie. Yeah, that would be it. I'm going to get some injections. I've gone to hell because I think somehow or other I'm supposed to look exactly like I never looked to begin with. That's very funny. I think I'm supposed to look like I never actually looked like. And I want to relive the imagination. I saw a picture. Why do you think people keep pictures of themselves? Do you keep pictures where you look funky?
No.
I myself, I'm always saying, shoot me from the chest up. Right, the older you get, the higher the picture you want. Finally, you just want, no, you don't even want that. Don't shoot me at all. Am I lying?
No.
Oh God, oh God, my ankle, my knee, my leg, my face, my eyes, my hands. I can't eat anymore after ever. I can't, whatever it is, I can't do anything anymore. No fun. Do you wring your hands over the fact that your pleasures are becoming more and more limited? Yes or no? And then what about this? Because you have wrung the life out of your own body. That's the truth. You have literally wrung the life out of your own body. And as your body begins to, as it will increasingly, the more that you go to hell and back. Do you know how much energy it takes to go to hell and back? And all of that energy could be used to realize that if you don't go to hell, you're already standing in a certain kind of heaven. You don't need heaven if you don't go to hell. You don't need heaven if you don't dwell in hell. Hell is the making of a human mind. Heaven is this creation in which you were born and have a specific role in. And you don't create it, you create the absence of it so that then you can go ahead and construe some kind of meaning to save yourself from your self-constructed hell and back trip. Number 4 of 5 ways, 5 examples of yesterday's news and how agreeing to relive any old story is the same as buying a ticket to hell and back. Any form of painfully wondering why someone treated you in a certain way. Don't you deserve better than that? That's literally what this consciousness says. Have you ever heard this? After all the sacrifices I've made. Who's talking to you? And more importantly, tell me the sacrifices that you made. Because if you really made a sacrifice, I want to tell you something, you never resent what you did. If you ever really made a sacrifice, you never resent what you did. And if you hear any resentment come up in your mind that you did this and now look what they're doing, if you feel that resentment, you are now recognizing that something in you was completely not pure, unclear altogether, because there was always ambition in what you called your sacrifice. There was always the image of oneself that I was somehow cultivating through this thing that I gave up or did for you. You know why love is so beautiful? True love is so beautiful. It doesn't have a reason. Because it doesn't have a reason, it never goes to hell. Hell is inseparable from the reasons that you give yourself for why you do what you do. Because anytime someone challenges the reasonableness of your action, you can't help but have a heartache of some kind and blame them for that pain. Number 5, and the last of the 5 examples. Anybody still online with us? Everybody still? Number 5. Anytime we judge ourselves or others for doing what couldn't have happened in any other way in a moment now past. Anytime we judge ourselves or others for doing what couldn't have happened in any other way in a moment now past. Oh, dear God, and I mean that, please help all of us to understand that whatever happened couldn't have happened any other way than it did. And that anything that says it could have happened differently is you on the elevator down to hell. Because down there you'll find all the justification for the flames that are burning you as you try to figure out why and when and where. Why did it happen this way? When you know from yourself, listen to me, because you don't get on the elevator, you don't pick up yesterday's news. When you know from yourself that what you just did, it doesn't matter how many different ways you explain it, how many apologies you have, it makes no difference. One bloody word that your mind coughs up in order to get you through seeing where you compromised yourself. None of that makes any difference at all. It never has. Because all you're listening to is what's taking you on the upside to the downside of judging yourself. I judge myself so that I can have something to prove that I'm not what I was that did that. And all of that is to hell and back. In fact, every thought that you have about yourself is to hell and back. That's why Christ said, what man taking thought can add a cubit to his stature? Take no thought for tomorrow. Everything he was saying is that when you're anxious about tomorrow, you don't have to be, because everything else is taken care of. And besides which, the evil of the day is sufficient unto itself. What does that mean? It means that you just leave me alone. I got enough problems. I don't need to worry about tomorrow. Right here where I am is where tomorrow seems to dwell. But the tomorrow that dwells here is the hell of a mind that needs tomorrow so it can worry and be tormented about something that without it, it doesn't know what to do with today. What are you going to do today? I'm going to figure out how not to dwell in hell. And where are you going to get all the answers? In hell, living there, reliving stuff, sorting it out one more time. The last of the key lessons, please. This is the summary of the whole talk, and then we'll end. It's coming up. There it is. Look to see where and on what your thoughts do dwell, and therein find the entrance to its heaven or hell. Look to see whereon what your thoughts do dwell, and therein find the entrance to its heaven or hell. Can I be a man enough, a woman enough, to realize that my experience in any given moment cannot be separated from what my mind is doing with the moment that it has called out for being the problem? And then see, the problem is the mind is unattended. And an unattended mind is not only the breeding ground of defeat, but it is the seed of hell itself. And it dwells within itself every time it tries to escape the experience of itself. What was the place that Appy was taken to? Where did the senior angel take Appy? Took him down to hell and back. Showed him the existence of a psychological space has no reality apart from the psychology that creates it. It's not your father's making. Hell is not of your father's making. Hell is what happens when human beings believe they can create heaven by trying to escape what their own conditioned nature continues to make in its own image. We got something?
Yeah.
Please, this can go with you. This can go with you. But you have to want it to go with you. You have to want to wake up and see, wow, why am I depressed? And the minute the mind asks why, have your mind ever asked you why are you depressed and then not come up with an answer to its own question? Please see it. My mind asks what's wrong. Why does it ask what's wrong? It already knows, apparently, because no more does it ask than it's telling me. So it's a trick, isn't it? Up and down. Why is this like this? Oh, of course. And if it's like this, then that's all I need to do is this. And why is this now like that instead of the way it's supposed to be? Oh. We'll take a quick break. We'll have our questions and answers. In the meantime, if you need to get a glass of water, stretch, whatever, use the facility, please do so. I have agreed to sit here and try to look intelligent the whole time that we're on the break.
Very good. Thank you, Guy. Like Guy said, we're going to take a couple minutes. While we do that, if you would like to speak with Guy directly and you're not on the GoToWebinar platform, there is a link in the description of whatever platform you're on that you can log into, and that will allow you to speak directly to Guy. So I encourage you to do that if you're able. And if you have any questions you'd like to ask Guy, you can also write those in the chat area of whatever platform you're on, and those will be given to me, and I will ask Guy those questions for you. Then also, while we're on the break, a couple quick announcements. Firstly, Monday, Cyber Monday, you will be receiving an email if you're signed up on our newsletter list for some specials, Cyber Monday specials, for a variety of books and different announcements from the Life of Learning Foundation that Guy has founded. And then you can also always go to our guyfinley.org events page that will show you different opportunities throughout the week to continue to connect to this work. It's so important to keep it in front of us all the time because we so quickly go into the mechanical thinking and are just taken over by the down escalator, as Guy mentioned today. So what we have this week is Monday night is a student study group. That is for our Wisdom School members for a small fee each month. You can join that group and get a lot of additional content that isn't on the regular website. Wednesday night, we have classic talks with Guy. Those are talks from 2016 that are just fantastic. And that's every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific time. You can find that on YouTube, Facebook, or GoToWebinar. Friday night is another student study group that anyone can join. And that's when the students get together and talk about the talk. We'll be talking about today's talk this Friday. So join us there and you might gather more insight, share with us what you've seen and what you learned from the talk today. And then Saturday mornings at 8 Pacific time, Guy is always on Insight Timer. And he gives about a 45-minute talk on Insight Timer. So we invite you to join us there as well. So I think we can just sit for a few more minutes and have folks come back from stretching their legs, getting a glass of water, and we will enter into the Q&A portion.
While we're sitting here, Leah,
Yes.
some people aren't back yet, but some are. What's your main takeaway from today's talk?
It's hell to dwell in the past and really seeing that every time I'm thinking about a past conversation, anything in the past, I am entering and going down the escalator, looking for a solution, finding what I think is going to be the next moment to rescue me, coming back up the escalator, and just watching that cycle over and over.
So I would ask you, if you know that about the past, where is what you call your future? If I'm worried about my future, what's this future I'm worried about? Where is it?
It's in the past.
Correct.
Yeah.
'Cause I can't-
It's pulling up something from the past and creating this imagined future that's going to provide the safety, security, whatever it is, this nature tells it needs.
Yeah. To see that, psychologically speaking, there is no past and there is no future, apart from a mind that makes it so that it can read about itself, protect itself, or otherwise try to possess what it doesn't have so that it doesn't have to go to hell and back. The very attempt to escape any form of unconscious suffering is a creation of suffering and will reproduce the same. To go to hell and back, it's suffering. You one day you'll be stunned, and I'm talking to everybody now while we're filling in this time. If you ever go to a restaurant, you can sit at a table with people, you can look around you, you can be in your car and just glance over to the persons in the other car next to you. Go to a family reunion. And any time that you see someone's eyes glaze over, guess where they are?
Mm-hmm.
That's right. To hell and back.
That's right.
Somebody once asked me, why do some of these restaurants have like 84 televisions going on inside of them? That's so people can go to hell and back and never know they've gone anywhere. Because they just sit and flit from one screen to another, have a reaction. The reaction determines an experience. The experience is good or bad, but it's not enough. So I got to go back. I got to make another round trip, another round trip, another round trip. And I'm not going anywhere. I am the prodigal son, squandering what I have been given. Anyway, that's probably a good enough break. I'm trusting everybody's back over there in our meeting room there. Nobody came back here, but that happens from time to time.
I can't speak for the other room, but I think.
Where did everybody go? Let's get started. Finish up your announcements.
For all of you on GoToWebinar, if you have a question for Guy, please go ahead and raise your hand, and we will definitely ask him that question ASAP. I think while we wait for hands to go up and for questions to come in, oh, there's James. Let's get started with James. James, I'm going to unmute you. Hi, James.
Okay, this is kind of a question. Hi, Guy. On yesterday morning talk, as a kind of a metaphor, you talked about a plateau and then that being the end, and the end was a new beginning. But right now, as I sit here and ask you this question, being present, watching the internal reactions, what is the end of this moment and the new beginning? It's like I'm stuck on the plateau and I'm not going anywhere.
No, you're stuck in thought, James. Thought. For the longest time, a person believes that their mental activity is the same as spiritual transformation. So what I said yesterday, James, and I'll cover it because it's somewhat connected. I said, and I'll use myself as an example. So I'm, as most of you know, I love the game of golf. It's fair to say that. Not the game itself, but I love the field of exploration and insight that's connected with using the body to accomplish a certain outcome that requires a unity as opposed to separate factions working separately. So here I am, and I'm 76 years old. I started playing golf with a friend of mine, Doug, when I was 50 or 51 years old. So I've been at it for 25 years. And I have some physical challenges due to injuries that I sustained that make certain aspects of the swing difficult for me. But every once in a while, because, and that was connected to yesterday's talk, James, because I know if I can see it, I know if I can feel it, that the perfection I see and feel, though I may not be able to instrument it yet, I can get closer to it. I know it. I wouldn't be given it to see if there wasn't a path to it. So from time to time in my work, which is for me, I work out there, I'll have a revelation of a certain sort. Something will happen that's never happened before. I'll strike the ball, the club will make a different sound that I've never ever heard the club make before. And in that moment, and please, with all due respect, don't think this is disrespectful, I understand my Father's kingdom has many mansions. Suddenly I'm no longer at the level that I was, but I'm standing, at least temporarily, in a place I can see is far superior to the place I was before. But I understand enough to not make a kingdom of heaven out of the place that I've glimpsed, but rather to understand that what was the lowest part of my game is now the middle part, and the middle part will now become the lowest part. Because from that middle part that was the lowest, now I can see above myself again. There's a new understanding about the game. It's the same thing with one's spiritual life. That as I see that I have this tendency, who would have dreamed that something in me, left alone, wants to dwell in hell? It's unimaginable that any human being would do that. And yet, I'm the living evidence of it. OMG. Well, I didn't know that. So now there's new understanding, which means the lowest part of myself, which never knew that it couldn't wait to get down there and suffer, now knows something about itself. So the mind has been awakened to itself, and the lowest part of the mind is no longer the part that I live from, because I can see the lowest from the middle, and that becomes the next high if I'll stand there. And then things can change. And it's very beautiful to understand that, because you start to see in scale, like yesterday's talk. I am the Alpha and Omega. I am the beginning and the end. I am that which already contains what will end and what will finish, and it never stops doing that, because it keeps perfecting itself, because that's how our Father is in heaven. So that's my answer to that question.
Okay, so to use your analogy of a good experience of a good swing, the thoughts are what separates us from the heaven of the whole unity of the experience?
Yeah, you could say that if you want to use the metaphor. A golf swing is not in segments, but that's how you learn it. A golf swing is a swing, not 5 separate segments tied together by 5 separate thoughts, 5 different feelings, 5 different actions of the body. But the mind is afraid not to have control. So it identifies with each segment, creating tension and conflict in the body. And the more tension and conflict, the worse the swing is, even though you think to yourself, I understand the game better than I did before. Golf is to hell and back.
So, continuing, so you had this experience. what is the end of that experience?
No, see that.
The
No,
next movement?
you're not listening. There's no end, James. There's no end. There's what I didn't see, what I do see, and now a new possibility based on a new understanding. So I don't try to make the new understanding change what I'm experiencing. I take my experience into my new understanding as best I can and then learn what's possible from that relationship. If I live that relationship as truly, as quietly as I can, I will see something yet again. And the lower will become the middle will become the higher, and you'll go through this change where the first becomes last and the last becomes first. It's all connected, James. But
Excellent.
It has to be experiential, man. You hear me?
She muted.
Okay, that's fine. Let's go on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to go to Irene.
Hi, Guy. I just wanted to thank you. I had more of a peaceful week. You listen to the talks and it's you take in things, but then when you remind yourself of the consciousness, I just wanted to thank you for the awareness. It brought me peace in a lot of struggles that I had this week. That's it.
I'm happy for you, Irene. I'm happier still knowing that when a man or a woman's feet fall upon this path and they don't reject the prescription that appears when they see their own temptations and tendencies to follow them, that there's always something better and more pure. Clarity, clarity, clarity.
Yeah.
And that's all you have to remember. And if you do that, the rest takes care of itself. The Alpha and the Omega, it is not a process in time. It is timelessness itself proving the love that gave rise to it. And you'll see it for yourself. You'll become that. On we go.
Thank you so much, Guy.
Okay, I'm going to come on and read a question. This is actually from last week's talk that was titled, Freedom Starts as False Excuses End. So all about excuses last week. And Pamela wrote in, so is it about acceptance of ourselves with no excuses to ourselves or others? Is that, quote, love is never having to say you're sorry? Is that how we denounce having a false sense of identity?
Well, your comment has goodness in it and it has a misunderstanding in it. But I do like the turn of the phrase and because of what it implies. Love is never having to say you're sorry. Well, no, you might from time to time actually want to say you're sorry. But if you ever really say you're sorry and mean it, you're not just sorry for what it is that you may have caused another person to experience. You're sorry that you were a human being who didn't know better in that moment, so that your sorrow is a form of remorse that includes everyone and everything involved in that relationship. Then it's the whole that's changed. Not hoping to change the perception of yourself by getting someone to see that you're sorry. But you're sorry because you didn't know at the time what you were doing, and now you know what you're doing. So then in knowing what you're doing, now you understand that you would have never done that had you been present. So then that takes in the whole thing, Pamela. So that's the first part, accepting ourselves with no excuses. Back to hell and back. Where do excuses come from? Do excuses come from seeing the truth of something?
No.
Do they? I'm asking everybody. No, of course not. There's no excuse for one. If I see the truth of something. So excuses come because I haven't seen the truth of something, and there's something in me that doesn't really want to see that, because then I'm a fully responsible human being. So the idea of love as not having to say you're sorry, now we look at love as in a completely different light. Love is when a human being is willing to sacrifice their certainty for the sake of clarity. Love is when a person sacrifices their sense of certainty for the sake of clarity. Because if I'm sitting here and I see something very clearly, there's no excuse left. I have no excuses. Just the clarity of a consciousness that didn't know better than to do what it did, but now I have the clarity that that's there, and I'll be more watchful next time. So the action isn't an excuse. It's a kind of doubling down my wish to attend to myself. That's my answer to this question.
Okay, we have 2 more questions. Another one from last week comes from Kai, comes from Kai. Hello, Guy. Are you saying that we must learn to not just see and be the negative polarity, the self-hate, the self-harm, but then set it down with no excuses? Thank you for clarifying this, because I'm stuck on the side of the polarity, especially since the other side collapsed after letting go of ambition.
Yeah, I hope that you were attending class today, Kai. And first of all, hi, Kai. Hi, Kai. She says, not just see the negative polarity, the self-hate and self-harm, but to set it down with no excuses. Isn't this polarity she's describing the descending part of the escalator? And then the excuses for it, the judgment, the upside, can you not see that's to hell and back? Yeah. So if you actually see one, you don't have to do anything about the other. There's no you trying to figure out what you should do when you see that the only reason you're suffering is because something has tempted you to dwell in hell. You don't need to make excuses for yourself. You want to see the self that was tempting you. And that I just swallowed a bug. I've been talking for over 50 years and never done that. And I'm inside. Good grief. I need gravy. Wow, that was weird. What kind of a bug? We'll never know, will we? No, okay, enough on the bug. Kai says, I'm stuck on the side of that polarity. I'm on the side of being negative. I will just say this, because it's probably a little too deep to go into. You know, when you have a negative reaction, it's a lot like a moment in which you have thrown a stone into a pond. Only you didn't throw the stone, and the reaction that comes from the impact of the stone is you and not you at the same time. But what happens when a stone hits the pond? There is what? Ripples. So the initial stone, the initial reaction, has not reached the body. The initial reaction is a psychological reaction that then takes on the mannerisms of whatever the mind makes out of it. So the mind makes from the disturbance that which it needs to explain the disturbance. It gives meaning to the disturbance. As it does, it doubles down in the resistance that it feels. So I start to resist my own explanation. I start to resist why it is that I feel the way I do. And as I do that, I start to get tense. Where do you think your anxiety comes from? So the more negative I become, the more my body actually manifests the tension that started in the mind conflicted with itself. Mind was tense, body was tense. Mind gets more anxious, body becomes more anxious. Till literally, cellularly, I am a reflection of an initial reaction that was meant to come and go, but didn't. Haven't you ever felt that? So you get upset with somebody, and that feeling will just ride with you. It's like a hitchhiker. My chest is tight, my arms are tight, I got a cramp in my shoulder, my ankles are spasming. I mean, it's true, it just radiates. So now I've had the reaction. My mind may have gone on, but I'm sitting at a dinner table and I'm tense. Now I can't be tense without wanting to know what to do about the tension, because I'm not supposed to be tense. So there I am on the ride down, dwelling in hell. Anytime you think to yourself, I shouldn't be this way, you're going down. So you have to understand that that's what your body does. This all is see, this is what I was saying to James. See, our mind makes segments out of these circumstances. Felt like Bernie Sanders for a moment. Our mind makes circumstances out of segments. Each segment comes with its own explanation, with its own justification. And I get caught explaining and working to clarify one segment of a reaction that my mind has made into a mountain. You're not meant to segment a reaction into a series of separate explanations for why you are the way you are. That reaction is not the way you are, it is a part of what you are. The reaction is not what you are, it is a part of what you are. And if you understood that, you would leave the part to do what the part does, which is to settle itself, and then you would see the thing settled itself, and I didn't need to go to hell and back to do it. Is that clear enough? Can you get that? That's my answer.
Okay, we have one more question. If there's any students present that would like to speak with Guy, now's your time to either come in with me or up there with Guy. I see someone, looks like someone's heading that direction. We have a question from Frida. Hello, Guy. This is for today's talk. And then Stephen's hand just went up as well. Hello, Guy. I can see that your thoughts go to hell all day long and keep dragging you down. And I also see that I'm always looking for something that makes me happy. Something inside me always wants to be doing something. And when there's nothing to do, it keeps looking for something to keep itself busy. And I see this, but it happens in an instant, and you're back in it again. How can you stay ahead of it and see what's dragging you down? Because I've never managed to do that. Thank you, Frida.
I can only tell you, and I will, that it is not just possible for you as a human being to come to the end of always looking for something to do, but that you are meant to come to an end of doing, because your life has been replaced by being. Being is its own doing. It doesn't require something outside of itself to complete itself. It is itself complete and never stops completing itself through the things that it does. But you participate in that. So if I was going to say anything at all, Frida, to address the question, I would say that the task is to see what happens when you don't keep yourself busy. This is for everybody. Is there anybody that heard this comment that doesn't relate to it? Or is this like, is this Frida's consciousness? Everybody say, poor Frida. Poor Frida. No, this is human consciousness. Why am I always giving myself something to do? Because that's how I momentarily distract myself from hell and back. Because on the way back from hell, I have a plan. I'm busy. I am important. I've dealt with what has to be dealt with, and now I'm on my way. I'm being delivered from the hands of the devil because everything's resolved. If you want to not go to hell and back, you're going to have to hell dwell. And nobody's going to do that, Frida, until they see that there's no option. You see, the mind says there's an option. Isn't that what your mind tells you? There's an option here. I've got options. That the mind loves options. Options to what, please? the experience of itself. I have an option. I don't have to sit here and hell dwell. I'm not going to do that. Good. Don't do it. But if you want to stop this circulation called hell and back, you're going to have to catch yourself in one phase or another of it. To put it in Kai's words, not just the positive side, which is coming up, and not just the negative side, which is going down, but that you don't have up and down in hell, other than the hell that makes the illusion that there's up and down and a place you can escape it. Because you can't, there's so every story, every myth, every one of these ancient tales, all of them talk about the same thing. What do you think it means that you can't change a tiger's stripes? Isn't that what you're trying to do? I want to change my stripes. They're not the right color. They shouldn't be quite that vertical. I should have only a few spots where they are. The rest should be a pale blue, or whatever it is that you believe suits you the most. And then see that can't happen. And then find out what happens when you know what can't happen anymore. Find out what happens when you know what can't happen anymore. You already know what shouldn't happen anymore, don't you? Well, stop having the shoulds and get to the can't. Thank you.
That was good timing. Perfect timing.
Debbie sitting here. Debbie, you're on.
Great.
Talk.
So I just wanted to say thank you for the talk of Wednesday, because it really relates to this. You were talking about stillness and oneness. Oneness? Was it oneness? Oh, shoot. Yeah, your voice up. Okay.
Speak up.
So you were talking about stillness and oneness, and you talked about the fact that there is a part of us that can stop in the moment between the stimulus and the response, which is what you're talking about here now. Awareness is able to see that nature that wants to take you down into hell and give you a solution based in going into hell. But, you know, Debbie is just this little distracted individual that my wish is to be able to be present so that I just have to experience the monsters. You even talked about that. There are beautiful, innocent, pure thoughts and feelings we can have, but there are also the monsters. And there's something in us that knows there's nothing to be afraid of. So just work to be present.
Glad you straightened that out.
I couldn't have done it without your help. Thank you.
Okay, Guy, we have 2 hands up and no more questions. So how would you like to proceed?
If nothing is good or bad save thinking make it so, then isn't it the same when it comes to what we call the monsters and angels in our life? Isn't what Christ lived and died for, and by the way, the exact same thing that you and I are supposed to live and die for? Didn't he prove that this unregenerate, monstrous nature holds within it the seed of something that, if it's understood and subjected to the light, the love that it's intended to, and if it will hold itself there, that the monster can become, in fact, the angel? Isn't that the whole thing? What would this life be like? What would this world be like if it weren't possible for a human being as an individual to go through and become the embodiment of what Christ represents? Not because you have an icon in your life and something you worship, but because you've gone past icons and worshiping into the nitty-gritty of becoming, as you understand it, what is required to take part in that kind of life. So that you're willing, listen to this, you're willing to enter into another kind of hell that doesn't promise heaven, but that in the end of it, as did Christ go to hell for 3 days, in the end of it, it is finished. The transformation is done, and something new exits that can only exit when the whole thing is finished, when the segments have stopped being segmented, and what is holy takes the place of this nature that's forever dividing itself up into up and down, good and bad, monstrous and angelic. There are so many things. I'm sure that I will drop this body before I'm done having things to say, because it seems the older that one gets, and the more one works as diligently, persisting as I described in yesterday's talk, the more pertinent everything becomes with regards to you understanding. If you just stay the course, if you just don't go to hell for 10 minutes. I mean, literally, if I just suspend it, then in that suspension is this gap between the thought and the response to it. In the suspension is the observation of both polarities at the same time, because the suspension is no different than the awareness that holds these things, and in that awareness you can see the polarity is not separate. There's no negative and positive, no good and bad. There's just God, God's love, and everything that is coming out of it, if you're willing to stay in the middle of that new conception. That's it.
There are two hands. Do you want to just tell them?
Oh, no, if there's a couple hands, let's do the hands.
Okay, great. We're going to start with Stephen and then go to Nina.
And we will stop there.
Got it. Stephen, you'll need to unmute yourself on whatever device you're on. You'll re-click the microphone and unmute yourself.
Let's go to Nina. We'll come back to
Okay.
Stephen.
We'll do it. Stephen, we'll give you another try in a second. It'll be the same button. Nina, we're unmuting you. Nina, you want to unmute yourself?
You know what? Maybe
It
just
looks
as well. I'm happy to talk to everybody, but this bug wants to come back for some reason that's in my throat, and now would be a good time. We'll catch up. We're not going anywhere. Be well, everybody. Catch yourself.
Very good.
Catch yourself picking up the newspaper. Catch yourself going down. Catch yourself coming up. See that the elevator doesn't exist without its flip side. And then do your best to use those examples. Make a list of your own examples. If you made your own list, if you sat down and spent 10 minutes just trying to think, where is it that I'm actually dwelling in hell, thinking that what I'm doing with my mind and heart is actually going to help me? How can I help myself if I'm in hell? You can't, but you're helping hell keep its grip on you. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everyone, and we'll see you Wednesday night for Guys Classic Talk, 6 p.m. Pacific time. Have a great Sunday.